This is the final chapter in acclaimed author Alan's Detective Atticus Pund series, Magpie Murders. However, the story ended abruptly when the detective Pund was on his way back after knowing the truth. There was no accident, but the last chapter disappeared. Alan's official editor, Susan, used the weekend to read the first draft. She was so anxious that she complained to her old boyfriend, Andreas.
Bloody manuscript! I haven't finished it, there's no last chapter. It's missing the last chapter.
So you don't know who did it? Can't you work it out for yourself?
No, these things are always way too complicated for me. Oh, is there anything more useless than a whodunit without the ending?
On Monday morning, they took a walk in the park. Andreas also mentioned that he wanted to take Susan back to his hometown to open a hotel to spend the rest of his life, but Susan refused. Her mind is now on Magpie Murders, which has no final chapter. As she returned to the company, she first wanted to ask Jemima, who did the photocopying, whether she missed the last chapter. But the colleague was not in the company at that time. Then she found Charles, and Charles looked solemn. He read the first draft and also did not have the final chapter. Charles said he had called Alan when he found it but was never connected. Last night, he received news of Alan's death. Alan's lawyer found that and told him. The lawyer came to Alan's house early with documents that morning, but found Alan lying in the grass on the side of the tower.
Alan?
God, that's awful. What happened?
Well, it looks as if Alan fell off that bloody tower of his. Well, that's what he said on the phone, but look, I'm afraid it's rather worse than that. I was going through my mail this morning and I got this. It's a suicide note.
Suicide note? Susan still couldn't believe it was true. Alan has a lot of money with a little boyfriend accompanying him. It is impossible to suicide. Charles also said they had dinner together last Thursday, although the process was slightly unpleasant. But if he had known that Alan was going to suicide, he should spend more time with him then. During the conversation, Susan opened the suicide note. It turns out Alan has cancer.
I'm very sorry, but I wasn't on my best form at dinner last night. By the time you read this, it will all be finished. I have achieved great success in a life that has gone on long enough. He had cancer. Is that why Alan decided to kill off Atticus Pund? He had cancer, so he wanted to take his beloved detective with him.
No idea. He didn't say anything. He seemed absolutely fine when I saw him. When I checked the page count on the photocopier, 332 pages. It matches what we were given.
So then, Alan didn't give us the whole novel.
The final chapter of the novel draft has disappeared. Author Alan also suicides after submitting the manuscript. It is difficult for the publisher and editor Susan. They couldn't know the reason why Alan suicide, so they could only ask the police for help. They handed the suicide note to Detective Inspector Locke, who informed them of what police findings. The preliminary judgment is that Alan's suicide. The fence on the roof is very low, and he did not die on the spot after falling. It was identified that Alan had not been drinking before the incident. Susan, who was sitting opposite, doubted the fact of Alan's suicide.
And I have to wonder why he would do it like that. Jump off a tower on a Saturday night and lie there on the grass with half your bones broken. Why not take sleeping pills or hang yourself?
Have you had experience of suicides?
No.
Inspector Locke didn't care about Susan's words. He confirmed to Susan that the handwriting of the suicide note was indeed from Alan. But Susan believes that the content of the suicide note is not like Alan's usual tone. There is also a doubt that this suicide note is the opposite of the threatening letter in the novel. The content is handwritten, but the envelope is printed. With Susan's unreasonable suspicion, Locke said nothing and left. They returned to the office. For the death of this old partner, they care more about the company's prospects. If the book doesn't get published, the company's upcoming acquisition and capital injection will not go well. Susan didn't give up. She decided to go to Alan's house to find the handwritten manuscript of Magpie Murders. After explaining to her old boyfriend, Susan drove straight to Suffolk. Unexpectedly, there was construction on the road, which delayed a lot of time.
What's happening here?
Robert.
She came to stay at her sister's house. Living in the same city, her sister certainly knew Alan. The sister also expressed regret over Alan's death. The next day, Susan's first stop was Alan's lawyer. In Magpie Murders, he is Saxby's doctor. In reality, he's the first person who found Alan's body. He and Alan have worked together for many years. He said Alan's cancer was never brought up to him, and he didn't see any signs of Alan committing suicide. He went to Alan's house that morning because...
So you had no idea he was intending to kill himself?
Well, of course not, though.
What?
Well, he had decided to make a new will. That was the reason I was there at the house.
Oh, so it wasn't social?
No, we didn't have that sort of relationship.
When Susan asked, will Alan hand over the manuscript to a lawyer after writing the novel, the answer was no. Susan was disappointed because that was what she was here for. She decided to go look for it at Alan's villa. The lawyer said she could get help from Alan's little boyfriend, James, who had the keys.
Hi.
Yes.
James Taylor?
Yes.
It was Alan's little boyfriend James who opened the door. In Magpie Murders, he is the assistant of the detective Pund. He and Susan introduced themselves to each other. James and Alan met online, and he was adopted by Alan. After they had been together for a few years, Alan and his wife admitted coming out. Then he divorced his wife. The lawyer said that Alan had rewritten a new will and that the original heir was James. It was a surprise to James, too.
Well, why should I deny it? Yes. I get everything. Do you think that's why I pushed Alan off the tower? To stop him signing the new will? I suppose I could have done that. I'll show you if you like.
Sure.
They went to the terrace where Alan fell. Indeed, the fence is so low that it's easy to fall if you are not careful. In the distance is the developer Jack's house. According to James, Jack and Alan didn't get along very well. Back in the place, Susan told him the purpose of the trip. She wanted to find the handwritten manuscript of Magpie Murders. Susan searched every corner of the room with the help of James, and there was no information about Magpie Murders.
Do you know the password to his computer?
Cat up nudist. It's an anagram. Vatikus Pund. Alan loved anagrams.
There is an English word game called anagram. The introduction in Wikipedia is a word or phrase formed by rearranging the letters of a different word or phrase, typically using all the original letters exactly once. If you want to understand the drama, this concept should keep in mind. After the computer turned on, there was also no information about the Magpie murder. It was as if all information about the novel had been wiped out in this villa. Then James thought of Alan's sister, Claire.
Maybe you should talk to Claire. Claire Jenkins, his sister. She used to help him with the manuscripts, typing, photocopying. Not sure she did anything on Magpie, though. They had a falling out. And if someone really did push him off that tower, well, put it this way, there'd have been plenty of volunteers.
When Susan was already in the car and was about to leave, she got out of the car again. She found several car prints on a lawn in the courtyard. Two magpies on the tree looked at Susan as if these magpies saw all of the matter.